Introducing the Fantasy Sport Doctors with your hosts, Dr. Mitch Brecky, Dr. Nick Curry, and Dr. Nick Healy. Welcome to the clinic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Hey, welcome. Week 2, baby. What you doing over there, Nick?
Week 2, and there's icing going on already.
I love that Nick is drinking an ice right now.
Well, you know, Chris McCaffrey has some faith in some rookie, and just a couple points short. Ty Montgomery had to get a touchdown. One sad day for me.
Oh, here he goes.
Oh, he's going for it.
He's not wasting
right
any
away.
time.
All right, you guys.
Yep. And
Dr. Nick is just chugging
put it
ice,
in a cup.
hardcore.
Does that count if he puts it
Sippy
in a cup? Sippy cup.
Big time sippy
There
cup.
you go.
I mean, that was
Ooh.
like 25 seconds.
Yep,
I'm going to give you
something like
credit
that.
there. That was okay.
It's better than me in bed, let me tell you that. All right.
I don't know what to say to that.
All right. I just still say you're welcome when I'm done.
That was the most exciting thing to happen tonight.
Yep, probably.
That was the most exciting thing to happen
You know,
tonight.
I have tears not because the ice was cold, but because it was a Packer that beat me. That's never a fun thing.
Double
Look at his
whammy.
dunk.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to basically do a subjective portion, which we didn't do much of last time. We're going to go over some of the picks that we had last week, and we're also going to go over basically the lineups that won us some money. So, last week we gave you guys some people, and we are testing out a brand new system that Dr. Healy put together for us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Applause. Nice. And on this system, we are essentially 50%. So we played these exact lineups 2 times this weekend. And on the first one, we lost big time. We only scored 88 points. Brutal.
Eli Manning and Brandon Marshall kind of threw us under the bus.
Tyler Higbee also didn't help.
No.
Week 1's a tough week, though. You
And
don't know what you're going to get.
Le'Veon was kind of a bust last week, wasn't he, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's looking at Cleveland thinking, hey, their defense terrible.
He's
They
gonna
were
score
terrible
30
last
points
year.
easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
We should have been looking at it like, he didn't come into training camp. He's probably a little behind the ball. Cleveland's a little bit better this year. That basically is a recipe for a bust.
But that being said, our lineup for the Monday was beautiful.
Tell me about it, Nick.
Well, basically had us starting a lot of Vikings players, which turned out to be going pretty well. Oh, well, top of the morning to
If you could have picked Boone at the guard position, you would have put him in there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, exactly.
You basically picked the entire Vikings team.
Yeah.
Basically, but it seemed to work out. I mean, the thing spit out names like Adam Thielen to score 27 points and Diggs to score 27 points. I was like, they're both not going to happen, but you got to give it a whirl, and they both scored 27 points.
I was able
Spot on.
to still stay in the money on the Monday night game playing all of those players except Rudolph, because in my own head I was like, I can't play every single Vikings player and win.
Well, especially as a Packers fan, you know you're not doing that.
Right.
You talked yourself out of it.
I mean, I still won. I
did.
could have won more if I had Rudolph in there. So
And we did have a couple of good picks last week for you guys as well. One of my flatline was Travis Kelce.
Yep.
He didn't perform very well. I did pick Marcus Mariota. It was a kind of a lower scoring week for the quarterbacks. Only about 4 quarterbacks got over 20 points. And Marcus Mariota finished just under that, about 18 and a half
actually,
points.
both quarterbacks from that game were within like 0.1 DraftKings points. I think Mariota was 18.8 and Carr was 18.7. So those were 2 solid picks. Dr. Mitch, I feel like you had a couple of good picks.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper
I know
Kupp?
people are
Oh,
tired.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
right.
he led the most receptions in
Griffin
NCAA
Cup.
history. Yeah, he had a hell of a game. Obviously, playing the Colts isn't saying much, but I'm on the Cooper Kupp train for the whole
I
year.
tell you what, that was a great call.
I think he's going to be
That was a
a
great call.
safety blanket for Goff. He's gotten better as a slot receiver guy. He's that Edelman type of a guy. He's just short throws, let him run with it, and he showed that he can do that. I was happy with his production.
Those type of receivers are becoming bigger. I mean, Beasley, Edelman, obviously is out this year, but Amendola caught the ball quite a bit before he got hurt that game. We're seeing a lot of those slot guys racking up PPR points.
Higher percentage throws for a quarterback, and if you need to dump it when you get in some pressure, it's an easy throw.
I believe we also talked about Sammy Watkins.
Yes.
And Sammy Watkins was coming in, I think he was undervalued. He was only in the 5,000 range. Scored 18 points, I believe. That whole Rams offense was, Indy's terrible this year.
Not to mention their defense as well scored about
Indy's
27 points.
Terrible. This
Tolzien
year.
had quite the showing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I look back at this and I said on Sunday before our Stardom Sit-em, I said, I don't know if you're not picking the Rams as underdogs right now and betting on them. Like, that's almost a guarantee. And then they came out and just absolutely
Dr. Nick wants to fly out to Vegas.
I wanted to fly out to Vegas and throw 10 G's on that game, man. That would have been a fun game.
Well, you probably wouldn't be sitting here then because you'd
I
be
would've
still in
been
Vegas if you
won.
won.
Have more fun.
He would have put it all in red and lost it.
Exactly.
So overall, we're shooting 50% on our lineup based on our own projections that we made through our system. And remember that system's bringing in Vegas odds, it's bringing in weather, it's bringing in
Defensive projections.
Yep, defensive projections and past points that each player scored. So we're looking not only from the past, but we're looking into the future a little bit too. So they are all projections, which means you can't win all the time, but 50% is a great start. So I'm on board, guys. Let's go through. Let's move on. What do you think?
All right, so we're going to break down the top 6 scoring games for the week. All right, well, the first one we have is the New England Patriots. They're at the Saints. The over-under is 54.5, and New England's favored by 6.5 points to score 30.5 points.
Nice.
So the over-under has moved up to 56 now. Even
It's
since
going up.
It's going up. This is gonna be. I think it's gonna be one of those games, just straight shootout. I mean, you have Tom Brady, Gronk didn't have a very good showing last week. They came off of they're coming on a long week. They were the first Thursday game. Long week of preparation. Tom Brady doesn't like to do back-to-back terrible games. He's trying to prove himself. And then you have the Saints. Saints are going up against, a defense who Hightower, their middle linebacker for the Patriots, apparently is out. Their defense is down. They didn't have a good showing. I know Drew Brees is not the kind of player that puts up multiple weeks with poor performances. And,
Well, he's at home.
And
so
he's at home.
that.
He loves to be at home. I don't even know what his projections is. I know we talked about this last year on his projections at home games. The week we talked about it, he actually kind of crapped the bed, but
Most of the time, it's like double or triple. what he
yes.
does on the
So
road.
this is a great great game to pick pretty much anyone from. It's going to be a lot of gems to pick from this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game, and I think this is just going to be, like you said, all offense. I think defense is going to get kind of pushed by the side here. Obviously, cash games, Tom Brady, Brandon Cooks. I think Gronk's going to have a monster week.
Revenge game for Brandon Cooks. They traded him. He wants.
Yep, that too. I forget about that.
Yeah, New Orleans is traditionally not very good at the tight end position, and you saw last week they gave up decent amount of points to Rudolph and a touchdown. So I like Gronk a lot this week. Other than Gronk and Cooks, I'm staying away from that receiver core. I
feel like he could get a pretty good value with like Hogan.
I thought that last week maybe James White is a value play out
It
of
could
there.
be a sneaky play.
We've
But
always talked, but it's tough.
There's going to be just so many points scored in this game. You can basically take anybody. And there's on the Saints side, I think Michael Thomas will probably have a bounce back game.
Yeah.
Thomas, I like this Kamara guy. He got a lot of touches, catches the ball well out of the backfield. I have a feeling Saints are probably going to be playing from behind again in this game, so they're going to be throwing the ball quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm taking New England with the points in this game.
I would too, and I'm staying away from Adrian Peterson. That dynamic, that look on the sideline, it looked kind of like he was, he was a little upset, right? Yeah, he didn't get more touches.
play
I
more.
would bet that he doesn't finish the year with the Saints. Either he's going to be cut or he's going to be traded.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Just that
He had
attitude.
6 carries. Yeah.
Gotta watch out.
I don't like it.
Cancer.
All right.
Cancer in the locker room.
All right, next game we have for you guys is the Oakland Raiders. They're playing against the Jets. The over-under is 43.5, which is not very high, but they're projected 28.5 points because they're favored by 13.5. It's a pretty big spread there.
Well, the Jets are terrible.
Well, we know they're not doing
True.
much on offense. I'll tell you that.
I'm not picking anyone from the Jets. I said that last week. I'll say it again.
I would pick Curley because he's going to be some PPR. He's point per reception, and they'll be coming back from behind. So they're going to have to throw the ball, and somebody's got to catch it. And
Robbie Anderson?
we thought it was going to be Robbie Anderson, but he only had 1 reception for like 15 yards last week. And so Curley, I think, had 6 or 7 receptions for like 70 yards, which is fine because his values, I think, it's costing $5,000 or something like that.
If you're streaming defenses in regular fantasy season, Oakland's a great stream this week.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to probably have Oakland as a draft pick, essentially. They're out there on the waiver wire. Yeah, they're projected by 14 points to win here. So I think their defense is a great pick here.
This is in our top 5-6 games here, but a little gem based on our projections that we've ran here. Not going to hear much on our flat lines or things, but David Carr didn't project well through our model, just to be honest with you. Not as well as we would have expected against the New York Jets. So take him with a grain of salt this week.
He's projected at like 23 points.
Yeah.
So not horrible, but
some of the numbers that spit out that we didn't expect to see him in the mix on players that weren't at the top of the mix. So keep that in mind when you're starting your lineups this week.
Well, his salary's gone up. He's at $7,200.
That is true. You got to take that into account.
For $200 more, you can get Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one.
Yep.
But I do like the wide receivers here. I like Crabtree again.
his value can't beat. I mean,
Yeah.
I had him as one of my fight or flights last week. I liked him a lot.
although that touchdown that Amari Cooper scored was pretty sick. He just dragged
Amari's
like six people into the end zone. That was pretty nice.
He's more of a physical specimen than Crabtree, but I think with the kind of quarterback play and offense that Oakland has, all those receivers are going to get touches. Seth Roberts had a touchdown. We're going to talk about him later, maybe. Yep.
All right.
Spring break in the ghetto.
All right. And don't forget about Lynch. Lynch, this is going to be his first game at Oakland.
Spring break in the ghetto.
He's going to be running some people over for the Jets. The Jets have two guys basically on their defensive line that could stop anybody, and once he gets through that, he's gone.
Yeah.
So
I do like Lynch. He looked good in his first outing. What do you have, 70-some yards on like 12 carries or something like that? So I like Lynch. He seems like he's still with it.
And he's only costing about $6,000.
Yeah.
So it's not too much for
Yep.
a running back. All right, next game we have for you guys, that's Seattle Seahawks. They're playing against the San Francisco 49ers. The over-under in this game is 43. And again, Seattle's favored by 13.5 points to score 28.25 points.
I like Seattle this week. I wasn't huge on them against the Packers. I really like Doug Baldwin or Tyler Lockett this week against San Fran. I know we talk about the wide receiving core there. We don't really know what's going to happen with Paul Richardson and Tyler Lockett, that second wide receiver. But I like those guys. I think Russell Wilson had an off first game of the year. I think he's going to bounce back.
Their offensive line is awful.
Yeah, that's tough as a quarterback to be running, not knowing if you're going to get hit from backside, try to make your reads downfield.
I feel like it's going to be a tighter game than 13.5.
I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth,
Those West Coast games are always close.
I thought San Francisco was going to be one of the worst in the league, and they probably will be, but they did show a little bit better than expected, I think, in week one. Personally, I thought they did.
I don't think you can trust anyone from the Seattle Seahawks stable. I mean, what do they have? 4 running backs now they're going to be playing? Eddie Lacy a little bit, Carson a little bit.
It's going to be a
Rawls is
week
coming back.
It's going to be a week-to-week
Procise
game
is
plan
there.
based on who they're
Yeah.
playing.
I
is
feel
what
like
it's going to be.
within a couple weeks, Carson will emerge.
I think Carson's going to be the guy you want.
Yeah, but it's going to take a little while. I mean, that offensive line is pretty hoarse. So,
Yep.
anybody else you guys want to mention before we move on in this
No, I'm
game?
good.
Anybody from San Fran?
Pierre Garçon, that's another PPR guy.
You love Pierre.
Pierre Garçon. He's French. All right, next game we got for you guys is Atlanta against the Green Bay Packers. Really pumped for this game. Atlanta's favored by 2.5. The over-under is 53.5, and they're projected to score 28 points for Hot Atlanta.
This is a huge game. I think both offenses needed a week to get their gears going, and I think this week you see. I mean, the Packers came out and honestly they surprised me on defense. I didn't expect them to be as good and as dominant against Seattle.
Their actually secondary is really impressive,
Right.
Which was surprising.
Right. So
Last year they had a decent run defense, but their backfield was not good.
I think Atlanta's a better team than Seattle, and you got more weapons coming out of the backfield like Freeman and honestly a bigger bodied receiver in Julio. So I like both those guys. The top 3 guys, Ryan, Freeman, Jones. I like a lot of Packers this week. If I'm going to Vegas, I'm putting money down on the Packers to win this game
Really?
outright.
Is that a homer bet?
Big surprise.
You know, I mean, kind of, but it's probably going to be the truth.
No, I don't think so. I think Hotland is going to take it at home.
Interesting. All right. Well,
well,
I'd love to bet you there, but I keep winning. So
You won one time.
I like Aaron Rodgers this week. I like the receiving options on both teams. I'm staying away from Cobb this week.
I think Devontae Adams is going to have a bounce-back game.
I think Devontae Adams is going to have a much bigger week. If you're
Hope
picking
so.
a receiver from Green Bay, I'm picking Adams this week. I think he gives you good value, and he's going to catch the ball a lot better. I think, again, that just came down to I've seen Seattle and Green Bay play a lot, and that's why I picked Cobb last week. I know they go to Cobb quite a bit, during that flow of that game. Also, Ty Montgomery, shout out, your boy, Ty. Yeah, he's going to catch a few balls out of the backfield, so... I like this game a lot. A lot of points. This is second highest scoring game on the slate.
Yep, it is.
Love it.
Do you just get off to just talking about the Packers?
Let's go on to the next game, please.
All right.
If the
next
Vikings
game.
would score more, we'd talk about them more.
What
Just-
just happened in week 1?
Next, please.
Pretty sure we scored more points. All right. Kansas City Chiefs, they're playing against Philly. Kansas City is favored by 4.5 in this game to score 26 points, and the over-under is 47.5.
Okay, I like my boy Carson Wentz. I know they're underdogs here. I like him. He came from a program. He's a good player, smart kid, and he's starting to show it his second year here. I think he's going to play well. Kareem Hunt, not going to give you 44.5 again, I'll tell you that.
No.
Not going to happen.
No.
Kansas City played well, though, all around. I mean, he beat New England handily, and, I think the one player that I can actually on my bench for my season-long team is Carson Wentz as my backup quarterback. I think he's a good player. He's going to be consistent through the road for the rest of the year.
He's a top 5 quarterback.
I think he's only going to get more consistent. Really, honestly.
I think a wide receiver to watch is Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he had a pretty good game with Carson Wentz.
He had a good game, but most of his yards and that touchdown came on like a scramble play where Carson Wentz had a bunch of time and he almost got sacked actually, and then he came out and he just launched it to him. I feel like
you could say that about Tyreek Hill as well.
You could.
And most of his points come from one play, 80-yard touchdown.
Hey, I'll take him.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll take him.
Exactly.
Right. So
But
same deal. I mean,
I feel like Philly's going to have a little better passing than New England did because Eric Berry's gone. He's out for the season. They're Pro Bowl
true.
safety, so
That is true.
that's going to leave a lot of
Good
targets
point.
open there. So Aguilar, he's coming out of the slot usually. That could be your guy, I guess.
I like Kareem Hunt. If you have him in fantasy, you're playing him. He's going to get some points. I just think for the price increase to 6,800, he's valued now as one of the top 10 running backs, and he's only played one game, so he hasn't proven all that much to me. So be careful in DraftKings, especially because Kareem Hunt I think is going to be owned by a lot of people.
And if I'm taking this game, if I'm betting on this game, if you're in Vegas, I'm taking the under. I do not think they're going to score 47 points. I feel like this is going to be more of like a 17 to 20 game, maybe.
Grind it out.
Yeah, like maybe even less than that.
I could see that.
Yep.
So the final game we got for you guys is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. They're at Indianapolis this week. They're favored by 7.5 points with an over/under of 44 and projected to score 25.75 points.
Well, I'm not going to talk about Scott Tolzien. I'll tell you that.
Because he's probably not going to start.
You put Brissett in there already? Yeah, maybe.
I think so. He got pulled last week.
Spider 2Y banana.
Educate him up. Put him in.
He's a Belichick.
Yeah,
Come
he's
on.
a Belichick product.
Tolzien?
No,
No,
Brissett.
Brissett.
Oh, Brissett. Well,
Jacoby.
yeah, Jacoby should. Yeah.
Right.
I'm on it.
I know this. Some sleeper picks out of here. Obviously, David Johnson went down. Everyone knows that. A hot waiver wire pickup is Kerwin Williams. I picked him up in my season long.
I also picked him up.
Thank God I lost week 1, so that means I'm number 3 on the waiver wire. Sweet. But honestly, sometimes losing week 1 allows you to pick up some serious players that bank for the rest of the year because of week 1.
Maybe
Leave it to
Tyreek
Mitch,
Cohen.
turning losing into a strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, woo!
Glass half full.
We lost as a team.
Yeah.
I think
Participation trophy for everyone.
Indianapolis is the worst team in the league without Andrew Luck by
they're
far.
not
That
looking
defense
too
is
hot.
horrific.
That offense is horrific.
That is true. They're both. It's all around horrific.
terrible.
My favorite wide receiver for the entire week, and we'll talk about him a little bit more later, is Larry Fitzgerald. I think he's going to have like 10 catches for 100 and some yards and a touchdown.
Minnesota boy.
I mean, obviously it's hard not to like the Cardinals here. I think they have a bounce back game. Carson Palmer is going to throw the ball here. Like we said, we talked about Kerwin Williams a little bit. He still not sure what's going to happen. They still got Andre Ellington there. They signed a guy from the Patriots practice squad. They were trying to bring in Chris Johnson. I don't know if they signed him or not.
They did. Yep, they signed him.
They did sign him.
Yep.
So, I mean, they got running backs that have played in the system. behind Kerwin Williams. He just seemed to be, he's like the youngest and has the most upside, right? So
Yep.
I like him. I'm playing Kerwin Williams a lot this week. He's only $4,800, which means in order to outperform his value, he's only got to hit 9 points. That's 3 or 4 catches and 5 or 6 carries for 20 or 30 yards.
And Kerwin Williams actually he averages 5.5 yards a carry. Granted, he's only had about 150 carries. Came in the league in 2014, but he can actually run the ball. So we'll see if the line can protect him there.
Yep.
Dang. Pulling those stats out of nowhere. Love it.
You see where that came from.
All right. So that was it. That's all our games that we're going over. Remember, we get those points every week by projecting the top scoring teams by Vegas. This is done by taking the over and under the spread of all 16 games. And we just identified those top 6 teams for you. And now we're going to go ahead. We're going to break down. We're each going to give you a player that we think is undervalued, maybe more of a fight or flight guy.
Yep.
We're going to give you guys a flatliner, so someone who is overvalued, who you do not want to pick in daily fantasy. And then we're going to give you an essential pick. We're going to do that both for cash games and for tournament games because cash games are more consistent. You want to be more of project lower. Tournament games, obviously, boom or bust players, right? Let's pick the guys who are going to go big or go home. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start it off with our
Fight or flight players.
All right, so I bust up my fight or flight player for tournament games. And this is a guy who I didn't really know before last week, and then you brought it up to on the start and sit him. That's Paul Richardson for the Seattle Seahawks. He's only going to cost you $4,200, and last week he led the Seahawks in receptions as well as targets. He had 4 receptions for 59 yards, which is 9 points, and that'll get you your value right there, but I expect a better game this week as well.
So I like the call there, especially playing
San Francisco.
San Francisco, that's right. So they're playing San Fran. My biggest thing here is who's going to get that second look. Is it going to be Paul Richardson or is it going to be Tyler Lockett? I think that's why you're throwing him in as a fight or flight. Obviously, they're going to throw the ball well here, and I think it's a great pick.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that never happens. You guys agreed?
I agree on
Okay,
it.
all right. My fight or flight this week for your tournament plays, I'm putting on a little bit of tie of emotion into my pick when it comes to where this team is from. Marquise Lee.
Ooh.
I got a feeling.
Yeah. So Jacksonville receiver, you got Allen Robinson going down with season-ending knee injury last week. Marquise Lee is $3,800 in DraftKings, so he's going to get an uptick in production, balls thrown to him. He's been on the team. Allen Hurns is obviously going to get an uptick in production as well. They're coming back. This is their first game back from a great win last week in Houston. They showed very well. They looked actually very
sacks.
well.
That defense was crazy.
Defense is good. Puts the ball in the offensive players or offensive side of the ball in a good position to score with good field position. You get more balls thrown to you at that position. Jacksonville just went through this whole hurricane thing. There's a lot of emotion coming back home. These are the kind of games that players and teams come back to, and they just throttle the team they're playing. I think it's a huge win for them last week. They come back home. Jacksonville got hit by the storm. They're feeling great, and their running attack with Fournette is only going to allow them to set up their passing game even better. I know they didn't throw the ball that much, but I think it's only going to help Bortles in a play-action pass to get easy shots down the field, and Marquise Lee's going to be the result of that.
Yeah,
So-
he's a big body stud
Yep.
out of USC, a couple years project, so who knows?
Yeah.
Marquise Lee coming in at $3,800.
Yep,
We
yep.
have him in our own projection system going for about 10 points. So that's 2.5
times your
his-
salary.
his
So
value.
he's a value pick that you plug in at I got to put one more guy in as a receiver. Marquise Lee's a great pick for you there.
And I mean, when you think about that, it doesn't really matter who's throwing him the ball. That's 5 targets for 50 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
that's totally within the realm of Marquise Lee for $3,800. That's a great value pick.
You catch a touchdown, you made your day right there with their
I
pick.
tell you what, that was a great call on your part. That was a great
Thank you.
call.
All right, so again, fight or flight, you're looking for guys that can blow up, that are not valued as much and maybe not highly owned, right? Especially in tournament games. A guy who's going to be owned quite a bit but is valued at a high level is Kerwin Williams. We kind of already talked about this. He's only his salary is only $4,800. He's projected anywhere between 9.5 and 15 points. I think he hits that. My other tournament fight or flight would be John Brown, sticking with the same team, the Cardinals. They're playing Indy. Indy's defense is terrible. One of these two guys will go off and will have a ton of points. I'm talking in the 20 to 30 range, and you're getting them from either $4,800 or $5,000. Right now, our system has John Brown scoring 11 points. That's still 2 times the value. Great pick with a ton of upside there. So that's my fight or flight.
Nice.
Fantasy Flatliner.
All right, my fantasy flatline for you guys is a guy that just killed it last week, and I do not think he's going to repeat. That's Zach Ertz for Philadelphia. He's going to cost you $5,300, which isn't bad, but Kansas City just held Gronk to 2 receptions for 33 yards, and in total for 2016, tight ends against Kansas City has only averaged 7 fantasy points. So I do not believe that Zach Ertz I'm guessing his value probably three receptions for 80 yards, maybe, if he's lucky.
Okay.
Maybe.
What's he, 5,300?
Yep.
That's
decent, but I don't think he's going to hit that.
For reference, 5,300 is pretty high. I know Gronk is coming in at 6,900. I don't think Zach Ertz is anywhere close to Gronk this week.
No. It's a good play. I think that's good for a flat line.
Yeah.
They are missing Eric Berry, which might change things a little bit, but I just think the rest of their defense with Patrick Peters and everybody else is pretty dang good.
Yeah. So my flat line for your tournament play games this week, it's your creme de la creme running back. I'm going with Le'Veon Bell. $9,800 you're paying up for him. I think Minnesota's defense is just as good or better than last year. I think they're the real deal. They gave up 60 yards per game, which is about 5th in the league in rushing yards last year on average. Le'Veon's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. I understand that. Harry the Hitman comes through the alley pretty quickly, pick that up. I think they're going to hold. He's obviously going to. I could see him scoring a touchdown, but I don't think he's going to outperform your $9,800 you're paying for him this week. I think the Steelers are going to have a tough time with the defense of Minnesota, especially with what I saw them have, they did last. Obviously, they're playing the Saints. The Saints' offense, though, can be just as potent as Pittsburgh, and they didn't do much of anything. I understand.
Not more.
Now, I understand Minnesota's offense played against the Saints' defense, which is nothing to talk about, really. But I think Minnesota's defense is really going to put it to Pittsburgh this week, and it's going to be a grind-out game. So I would stay away from Le'Veon Bell for what you're paying for him.
I like it.
Le'Veon Bell, $9,800, most expensive player in DraftKings. Scored 7.7 points last week.
Yep.
Not playing him.
People look for
looks a little rusty.
People
Not
look for
playing
bounce
him.
back, but if I'm going to pay that much, I want double my money.
Yep.
So I want 20 points. I don't think he's going to get 20.
Especially not against Minnesota's D.
No, I just don't.
You got
think
Linval Joseph in the middle of this clogging things up.
Maybe he gets a touchdown, but I think he's 15, 16, 17 under.
His points are going to come with the receptions.
Yeah,
because
that's
I think
where
Big
you
Ben's
get it.
going to be hurried, and he's going to have to drop it off.
Yep.
I think he's getting around 15 points. Again, that's not really. You can find better value.
Yes,
other
100%
places,
you see better value. Yep.
Kareem Hunt is my flat line this week, coming in at $6,800. He's projected range should be anywhere between 13 and 20 points. If he's going to hit 2 to 3 times his value, Kareem Hunt in our system only projected 12.5 points. That is not even 2 times what he's supposed to get. I'm staying away from Kareem Hunt. I think he's going to be one of the most highly owned players in DraftKings this week.
Probably.
Another person that's going to be pretty highly owned is going to be Dalvin Cook, and I would much rather pay up for Dalvin Cook this week than I would for Kareem Hunt against Philadelphia.
I think I'd agree. I definitely agree there.
Oh, would you, Nick?
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, Minnesota boy. Hey.
Hey.
You like that? You like that?
All right, so moving on to our essential picks here. These are the picks that we think you guys need in your lineup. We think they're just going to blow up. My essential pick is Brandon Cooks. We've already discussed New Orleans' defense is just not very good at all. They allowed Adam Thielen to go for 9 receptions for 157 yards, along with Stephon Diggs have 7 receptions, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns. There's going to be plenty of passes to go around. I think Brandon Cooks is going to kill it. I think Gronk's going to kill it, and Brady's going to kill it as well.
Okay, I like that. That's a great play.
I'm looking at Brandon Cooks, and I'm thinking Patriots are getting 2, 3, 4 extra days. And the Saints are coming off a Monday nighter, so a short game.
Yeah.
I gotta like all of the Patriots here, and I think Brandon Cook's a great pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. My essential pick for your tournament gameplay is Jameis Winston this week. I'm staying on the peninsula of Florida, playing emotion again. Seriously.
You like Florida this week?
Yeah, the whole state of Florida is going to be. You're going to talk about them later, probably.
We'll talk about them.
Jameis Winston's coming at $6,300 for you. I think he's going to have a huge week this week, which is his first week of the year because they didn't play last week due to weather. He's going to come out. I think Mike Evans is a great thing to pair with him. They're playing against a Chicago defense who played better than expected. I mean, their offense is not. I think that Jameis is going to come out having 2 weeks to prep for this game. It's only going to give him as a quarterback that much more knowledge on what he needs to be do to make the right decisions on the field, and I think he's only going to go up from here.
Well, I think that's a great pick, and both you and Hard Knocks sold me. I'm picking Mike Evans as my essential pick this week. It's coming in at $7,700, meaning he has to only hit 15.5 points in order to get 2 times his value with an upside of 23.10 points, and we have him projected at 19.85 points this week. He is essentially the second highest projected point wide receiver, and he's coming in at basically $2,000 less than Antonio Brown. I think Mike Evans is a great pick this week, and I'm not building too many lineups without him in it.
I love it. Love it.
Awesome. Good play.
God, we're agreeing a lot today.
Yeah, we are. We're just...
That needs to stop.
Chat, please. All right, we're moving on to the cash games. Here we go.
Fight or flight players.
All right, my fight or flight player for a cash game. He's not going to cost you much of anything. He's only going to cost you $3,400. That is Seth Roberts, the slot wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. He's a guy that can get targeted quite a bit, and I think there's going to be a lot of balls to go around here. And I'm projecting 5 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown. So that's going to get you about 19 points.
This guy is definitely a boomer bust player. He has been trending upwards, though. I have seen his name and heard his name quite a bit. He is that third wide out there and that slot guy, essentially.
They just paid him, too. They gave him a pretty good contract.
I mean, I like Oakland's offense this year. I think they're dynamic, and they kind of remind me of the Packers' offense. I knew you guys would like that. Where the slot guy, like Randall Cobb, he can get it in the end zone. He's also getting quite a few balls over the middle. So for $3,400, I think that's great value.
Okay. All right. My fight or flight for your cash games this week is coming from the highest scoring game on the slate in the Big Easy, Ted Ginn Jr. So 4,800 is what you're going to be paying for him. I think he had 4 balls for 53 yards last week, an average of 13. He's a big deep ball threat. Let's see, who are the only other guys that had more receiving yards are Kobe Fleener, Mark Ingram. I think Ted Ginn's going to be a big part of this offense. He's not a normal receiver they've had in New Orleans very often over the years with Breeze.
His speed.
He's just go deep. And I think playing against the shootout of the defense that's really has a lot of injuries with New England, I think they're going to take shots. I mean, Vegas is projecting 56 over-under. I think that's great. And Drew Brees is home. I could see Ginn with 2 touchdowns.
This is going to be a fun game.
I could see him with 2 touchdowns.
That game flow on Monday night against the Vikings just didn't favor, like, they didn't take many shots.
No, they didn't.
They didn't have the time. And there was shutdown corners.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Trey Waynes actually played salvageable.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to figure out how to use Adrian Peterson and all their running backs, and they got too concerned about that and stopped thinking about what works best for them, and sometimes that's going deep. right?
Yep.
So I love both great calls. For my fight or flight for cash games, this is a guy that kind of gets tossed under the bus because he plays for the Browns. I like Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman was one of the best receivers last year when he played. Broke his hand.
Which is 2 games, but
yeah.
he did well for those 2 games.
I mean, hey, we're only in week 2 here.
Yeah,
so,
right?
He did great for those
Was
first 2.
Manziel thrown to him?
Yeah, not this
No,
year.
RG3 was thrown to him.
You're right.
I like Kaiser though. The Kaiser's good.
Deshaun.
They are hopeful in Cleveland. Let's put it that way.
I mean, they have like 22 quarterbacks in the last like 5 years. Is that
But
what
they
it
have
is?
hope now. Like they saw something. They saw a glimpse. They're like, oh.
Hey, I had hope when
I could
Money
do this.
Manziel was out there too, but
That's
we
true.
saw how that went.
Oh, he was so
If you ask
bad.
me, Manziel should still be playing. But Corey
He
Coleman's
didn't even make
coming
the
in.
Canadian
club.
Football League.
They
The CFL cut
pay
him.
him enough, Healy.
Oh, yeah.
Money Manziel, bro. So Coleman is coming in at $4,700. His range to hit double is going to be less than 10 points. He scored 16.3 points last week. He had 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Our system has him going for 13 points. That's like 3 times the value. That's a great pick. Awesome. Way to go, Tyler.
Yeah, good job, Tyler.
Come on, Tyler, asshole. Shut up. So Corey Coleman, I think, is going to be a great value pick this week, especially in cash games. I think he's consistent enough where he's basically going to get you the points. So let's move on to our fantasy flatliners.
Fantasy Flatliner.
All right, my cash game fantasy flatliner for you is going to kind of pair with kind of what we discussed already about the Minnesota defense. And I'm taking Antonio Brown. He's going to cost you $9,400. He's the most expensive wide receiver on the slate. And he's going to be going up against a shutdown cornerback known as Xavier Rhodes. He just shut down Michael Thomas. But in 2016, he shut guys out like Odell Beckham, Des Bryant, Jordy Nelson, DeAndre Hopkins, Kelvin Benjamin. He can stop this guy as well.
He just got paid this year too, a big contract, didn't he?
He did, exactly. I think Antonio Brown is an elite receiver. He's going to get some points, but he's not going to be worth the value of $9,400.
Okay. My fantasy flatline for your week here for your cash game plays is Big Ben. We're just tearing apart Pittsburgh here right now. But our projections showed, Nick, if you want to look this up on Big Ben on our projections, I know that his projections are not great. They're playing Minnesota. Great defense. Like I said, I'm on board with the Minnesota defense this year. I think they're obviously were a great defense last year. Now, giving them more rest with a quality play from the offensive side of the ball, which we did see last week, I think Minnesota's offense is improved. It's going to keep that defense a little bit more fresh, going to keep them even better. And I think Big Ben is going to take some shots from the defensive linemen, and I don't think he's going to project over his $6,700 value. And what did you come up with in our projections in our scheme here?
Big Ben, $6,700, projected 16.8 points.
Okay.
For reference, we got Russell Wilson coming in at $6,800, 22 points. So that's a 5-6 point.
What's
swing
our
right
odds
there
on him
with
doubling? I know
$100.
they're a little bit lower than some of the others, aren't they?
Looks like for him to reach 20 or more points this week, we have him sitting at about 15%. So
In our projections, that's pretty low comparable to some other quarterbacks. So I'd stay away from Big Ben this week.
yeah, I think that's a great pick. I mean, he's going to get points, but even like last week when they were scoring, he didn't have. I mean, he's just kind of consistent. 15 to 20 range. He's not really up in the 30-40 range. He's not really down in the 8-10 range. It's just consistent. So I think there's better value right around that range. My flatliner this week is a guy who's injured. You may think that's kind of weird, but he's projected to play this week. He's Odell Beckham Jr. He's coming in at $8,000, and he's playing the Lions. He's playing, again, another shutdown corner in Darius Slay. I think after watching Eli Manning, I'm going to need a prove-it game before I start picking any of the Giants wide receivers again.
He's back to being the mouth breather.
The mouth breather got me again. I said it. I was like, I'm picking the mouth breather. I don't care. He's going to have a good game.
I
And
said the
then,
exact same thing.
terrible.
You put faith in the
Just
mouth breather,
absolutely
just kick you in the
terrible.
balls.
This is what I want to do with Eli Manning.
Down the toilet.
So, Yeah, I'm picking Odell Beckham. I think coming off an ankle injury like that, those are tough to plant and push off of. He's got to be dynamic like that to make his routes and, get his yardage. So
he won't have the explosion that he normally does.
Yeah, and coming up against a guy who's shut down and is just as athletic, especially not injured, I'd stay away from Odell this week.
All right. Good.
Nice. All right. We agree too much this week. It's kind of
that's
weird.
good. That's good.
It is good.
Well, we're all using the same system, so.
Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah. For my essential pick for your cash games, I already talked about this guy, and I think he's going to be the number one receiver this week. And that's Larry Fitzgerald. He's only going to cost you $6,500.
Yeah.
Again, David Johnson's out. He's going against Indianapolis. They just gave the 4 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown to Cooper Kupp, and he's a much better receiver than Cooper Kupp.
My boy.
Right now.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, I think, has some potential.
Cooper Kupp's like your size, Healy.
Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald's bigger, so he's going to crush him.
I'm going to crush you on here in front of everybody.
Great timing.
Nice.
I love it. Larry Fitzgerald is 6,500. Looks like we got a projected at 16 points this week. So that's pretty dang good value there. His high upside that we have him at is 20 points. So that's a good showing for somebody in the 6,000s.
Yep.
So, and he's probably got higher upside than that. So it's just based off projections.
All right. So my pick for your tournament game plays this week is coming from yet again the top scoring game in the slate, Tom Brady. Terrible game last week. Kind of got shown up at home versus Kansas City. He's got a long week this week. They played Thursday. Now they play Sunday. Long week to prepare for this game. I think he's going to come out and crush.
He's pissed.
He's going to crush. And you saw what Sam Bradford did to the Saints defense. Now, Sam Bradford played well. I'm not downplaying what he did, but he played against a defense that can be exposed. And I think Tom Brady's going to expose him.
Agreed.
I gotta agree. Tom Brady's pissed. I mean, everybody's looking at
Same
that
as
game.
Belichick.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league. I mean, and they got shown up on Thursday night, the opener
At home.
They're gonna
Bozo clowns are flying
Yeah.
from Barstool. It's like
Busting the
blue everywhere.
Super Bowl trophy, raising the banner.
Fire Goodell.
Fire Goodell.
So I think I think Brady's gonna come out. I wanted to pick Gronk here.
It's not a bad pick.
I do really, really like Gronk this week. I've been trying to find a lineup where I can get him and Mike Evans and Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady in there, but it hasn't been happening. So my essential pick this
Listen
week.
to my value picks, Nick. They just plug them in there.
I'm going to be a homer again. Last week he was my flatliner. This week he's my essential. Aaron Rodgers going down to Atlanta. And, Atlanta's defense isn't as good as Seattle's. He's going to have a better week. Remember, Aaron Rodgers is always like, he starts slow and he finishes very, very hard and fast.
I hope Green Bay just gets crushed.
That's what I think of that.
So you guys forget, they got crushed the last time they played the Falcons, and I think this is a revenge game for them. And I think Aaron Rodgers comes out, and I think he throws 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
So he's projected anywhere between 15 and 23 points. Our projection has him sitting at 23.4 points this week with a 75% confidence, Nick. So
You want to bet that?
I'm in on that.
3.5 touchdown over under? I'll take 3. You
No.
want to take the over on 3.5?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, come on.
3 touchdowns is like
Yeah,
Eli
it's a
Manning.
good-
but you're
That's like
confident.
Eli
4.
Manning's dream.
Yeah.
That's his
Mouth
dream.
breather's dream.
Yeah. So, no, I would go 2.5 over under.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you just make it 3?
What? You were saying
Because
3
then
to 4. You're saying 3 to 4, so
Yeah.
I'm giving you 3.5. I'll take 3. You take 4. You want the over on 3.5?
You're also taking 1 and 2 and 0.
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
that's-
If
yeah,
you
'cause-
say 1 and 2, it really doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
if
It
I guess
doesn't
I'm
matter.
He's going to score 1 or 2.
You want the over in 3.5?
I'm taking 5 or 6 or the NFL record 7.
Hey, I wasn't the one that said 3 or 4.
3 to 4.
I wasn't the
that's
one that
fair.
said
So
3 or 4.
2.5.
No, absolutely not.
Because that means he gets 1 and 2, and you're so confident he's going to score more than 2.
It's the over. It doesn't matter what the other ones are beyond that. It's just I think the over under on a 3.5. I'll take the under.
You're saying my high side 4 is too high, but you're saying 3 is the right number. is what I'm hearing.
I would bet on 3.
I would bet on 3 as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. We
Well, that's why I'm
agree
not,
to disagree.
that's
No
why I'm
bets
not making
happening.
This bet.
There you go.
So I think he's going to throw 3
Bunch
touchdowns.
of pussies.
All right. Well, you want to take 2.5, Nick?
No, I think he might throw 2.
Get the little Irishman.
maybe
Get him.
3.
Get him.
Oh, well, top of the morning to you.
Swing.
All right, so those are our picks for the week. Let's pick a few guys to build your lineups around. Maybe some guys that we can go off of that are in our optimal lineup.
Yeah, let's we'll veer off a little bit. I mean, some of these might be the same, but I know what our optimal lineup was.
I think Todd Gurley again this week is going to have another great week.
Yeah, I think Todd Gurley is a good pick.
They're playing Washington. And Washington gave up, I believe, the second most rushing touchdowns last year. So I feel like he's going to have a heck of a game. And I think Jared Goff is going to continue to be just throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah, let's
We consistently had Doug Baldwin in our lineups and
Baldwin.
Mike Evans.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, those guys were projected to outperform their values. A couple
Tyreek Hill was a big pick as well.
Tyreek Hill was in there. Another one that we've been seeing a lot, tight end Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to pick a giant until a mouth breather started throwing the ball better, but when it spits people out like that, it's always Eric Ebron came up.
Ebron came up, and I like him. Sammy Watkins even maybe.
We had Buck Allen in there.
Yep, Buck Allen. He's going to get through some receptions. I like Terrence West
Danny
better.
Danny Woodhead's gone. I mean, that's an option out of the backfield, catching and running with him. He's gone 3 to 4 weeks, so he's going to be more involved in the system over in Baltimore.
Especially if you need somewhere where you need the value picks because you're trying to get guys like Gronk, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, that sort of thing. Then you're going to have to go a little lower on the running back situation.
Yep.
We all kind of agreed on this earlier. Charles Clay.
Yeah,
I
Charles
think he's
Clay.
a great tight end. pick
Bills
this
Mafia.
week.
Yes.
Yep.
He got 15 points last week. I think he's going to have a repeat of performance this week.
Yep.
And last person, this is a homer pick for you, Nick. Last person I want to talk about, Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs had a monster week 1. And when we're looking at this stuff, it gives us a green, red, yellow, kind of a stoplight thing, and the more it sticks out, the more green it is. Stefon Diggs is coming in at 6,100. He's projected 16 to 18 points this week. For reference, that's the 8th rated wide receiver in our system. And the wide receivers around here, let me just read them off to you that he's in the same category with. Amari Cooper, 8,100. Brandon Cooks, 8,200. Julio Jones, 9,200.
Yep.
And Jordy Nelson, 7,900. So they're basically putting Stefon Diggs up with all the big guns, and he's coming in at well over $1,000, maybe $2,000 less than those guys. I like Stefon Diggs this week. I think that could be a great play.
Agreed. There's a lot of fun games this week. I'm excited for Sunday. I'm excited for tomorrow, but not as excited as in for Sunday. I think it's going to be a fantastic
Big shout
day.
out to one of my best friends, Ramon Humbry, got his first NFL start for naming start. He started before, led the Buffalo Bills in tackles with 13 tackles.
Woo!
He's a
IDP, baby.
Yep. He's a Minnesota boy out of Champo Park,
Swing.
Minnesota, played at NDSU. One of my best friends. Congratulations to him. That's awesome. It's going to be a great season for him. We're going to go out and visit him when he plays the Pats in the first week of December.
Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
Love it.
Great cash, homie.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Remember, you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. That is the podcast with all of our soundboard and sound extras. You can also find us at fantasysportdrs.com or on Instagram, Facebook, Periscope. Remember, we'll be doing a Stardom Sit-em this weekend again, Sunday morning. So make sure to log into Periscope or Facebook Live and ask us your questions on who you think we should or who you think should start, and then we'll tell you who you need to start.
Yes. We'll look into our
And we're
crystal,
mic drop it for you guys.
Yeah.
into the crystal ball.
Yeah, Nostradamus. So
Yes.
thanks for listening, guys. That was week 2, Fantasy Sport Doctors.
Have a great week, guys.